Hey, what is up everyone? We've been getting a lot of Sea of Thieves news over the last week, and with the 6th anniversary right around the corner, we should expect to see even more news coming soon. But there was something that was announced during the weekend that honestly has me pretty sad. So in an interview with Eurogamer, Mike Chapman announced that adventures were not going to be returning to Sea of Thieves. And the monthly adventures I thought were a great idea. Were they all great? No. There were some that I really didn't like a lot, and I thought they were pretty boring or were badly paced and whatever. But the other ones I really enjoyed. I felt like it helped make the story a lot more straightforward. It also provided consistent content where we were getting something every month to do, whereas before, if you remember, we had the season contents, and then we also had some events that were going on, like they had the Reapers vs. the World and other stuff, which were fun. But it wasn't really, the most exciting type of stuff. So the adventures I thought were exciting. They helped move the story forward. They brought world event changes in the sense of, say, like you had Golden Sands, which completely got changed over into Port Merrick, and we had some really cool stuff. One of my favorites was when we were fighting between bringing Captain Flameheart back or saving Pendragon, as well as we've had where they added unique aspects to the game, whether it was the gunpowder keg rowboats or like the little totems that you would get from doing the sea forts, and you had like the raise of flag there and stuff. There were some really cool things that they did with adventures, and it's sad to me that they're not going to keep going anymore. And another thing that's really interesting to me is I haven't seen anyone that is sad about it, honestly, online. I've seen most people, the only thing that people are upset about is wanting to know what's going on with the story, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. But in terms of adventures themselves, like these time-limited monthly stories that, kept evolving over time, not that many people seem to be into it anymore. I've seen a lot of content creators and stuff that have either posted or made videos about it, talking about how they're, happy for it to be gone, and they want Rare to focus on other things. And I get the aspect of, hey, I'd rather see them develop something that's going to be a permanent addition to the game instead of something that's time limited. But in my opinion, if we look at the year when we had adventures in the game and the year we didn't have adventures in the game, there's a stark contrast of the amount of content that we got. If you look at the year we got a bunch of adventures in the game where we had consistent monthly adventures, we actually also got tons of content. We got Captaincy, we got the Sea Forts, we got Legend of the Veil, we got the Hourglass battles. All that was the same year with monthly adventures throughout it. Then you have last year where adventures basically were gone. I think we had only 2 adventures throughout the entire year, and the rest of the time there was just nothing. And really, the one adventure that we had was really just a mini tall tale that led into the Monkey Island collaboration. And we really didn't get much else during 2023 as opposed to the year prior. While I can understand the aspect of people that are saying that they rather Rare focus on other stuff and use that development time better for like other purposes, I think we saw kind of what happened last year, so it's kind of hard to argue that the removal of adventures will automatically mean there's going to be more content in the game, because that hasn't been true. So one of the big reasons that I'm a fan of these time-limited adventures as opposed to something like a tall tale is the things that you can change in the world. So if you notice, like in games like, say, Fortnite, which I bring up a lot on this channel because it's one of my other favorite games that I like to play, you have these events that happen in the game, and they might not be the same as adventures. Adventures are obviously more of like a narrative story segment that you do, but Fortnite has their own events that change the game in some way. And the cool thing with those, whether it's the adventures in Sea of Thieves or the events that are in Fortnite, is that when they happen, you want to be there to witness what has changed, and you really can't go back to before that. So like if you talked about, say, with Sea of Thieves, the adventures had a huge impact on the world of the game, like with the removal of Golden Sands in favor of Port Merrick. That was a huge change, and I think adventures really lend to that kind of concept. And I really liked the idea, and I thought they could do a lot more with that, especially with the return of Flameheart. They could do things where, say for example, we had to fight over a certain outpost or something, or island or whatever, where Flameheart was going to make his new territory or something. That would have been pretty cool. yes, you can do something like that in a Tall Tale, but the fact that Tall Tales are replayable and can be done, months or years later, makes it so that you can't make changes throughout it that impact the rest of the Sea of Thieves experience or the world of Sea of Thieves greatly. It really has to be self-contained, which is the problem. Now, bringing it back to the storyline stuff, I'm also a bit disappointed with how they're handling it in this aspect. I understand maybe phasing out adventures if you wanted to do that, but the problem is they started an entire new story arc, and we had the two Tall Tales that really led into it that were dealing with Tasha's skeleton curse, and we're going to go into this some weird ancient vault where we'd be able to get the cure for her and everything. It probably would have wrapped up in one more adventure, maybe two more adventures if we're being honest. And I wish they would have just spent the time to finish that story, because I want to know what happens with it. And also, the premise that they were giving, it sounded like it would lend to really cool gameplay elements. Now, I could totally see them maybe sometime this year making a whole new voyage or whatever where we go into this vault, and that's kind of the story that goes with it. But honestly, we talked about this when we had the Skull of Siren Song voyage that came out, where it just didn't make sense why Briggsy was there. How did that tie into the story that was just set up with her in those adventures? So I'm not too confident that they're going to give a fulfilling end to this storyline that we started. And from what they have said online, it's not going to be another Tall Tale or anything, but they said it's going to be world changes in the background, which I don't like, because that means you really just have to be looking at Easter eggs and stuff and then interpret the story for yourself. And I know some people like that. I know some people, make YouTube videos on it and really enjoy watching YouTube videos of people, piecing all these things together to talk about the storyline. I think we even made some videos like that on the channel here already. But I prefer the more straightforward adventure format where we go in, we do the adventure, we learn the story over time. Sometimes they have the cool trailers or cut scenes or whatever that go with it. And I loved all that stuff. I don't really like having to see, oh, this little thing was added to this table on this island, so that means that this, and this happened behind the scenes. I don't like that. That's not an engaging story to me. I know some people like that. It's just not for me. With that said, though, the one thing that does make me hopeful about what Mike Chapman and Joe Neate said in this interview is that we're going to be seeing Captain Flamer return this year. Finally, it's been, it's going to be probably about almost 2 years by the time we actually see this happen in the game. But I'm very excited that's coming back, and they said they're going to weave that more into the gameplay that's being added in these future seasons. So that will be really good. That's kind of similar to what Fortnite does. Their story influences what the gameplay is going to be for that season. So for example, right now in Fortnite, the story is dealing with Greek mythology, and you have all these gods that are coming, from wherever. I guess I don't really understand the story too well, to be honest. Their story kind of lends into that. So you get new things, you have Zeus's lightning bolt now, and you have these Greek god wings that you can fly around with on the map. So the gameplay and the story are very closely connected, and I would really like to see that with Sea of Thieves. I feel like they were getting closer to that with stuff like The Legend of the Veil, but now I think they're really going to focus in on that more. So that's really good to see. My other sort of criticism with this whole announcement is I feel a little disrespected from Rare for this, because honestly, the last time they have officially said something directly to the Sea of Thieves community on this, they said adventures would be returning, but they would be permanent adventures. And I didn't really like the idea of permanent adventures, because it goes against what I was saying before in terms of having those decision points where things are changing based off what are happening in the adventures. You can't really do that in a permanent style because it just doesn't lend to that kind of format. But now it seems like those are canceled as well, unless this is just a misinterpretation by Eurogamer in the way that they're writing this. But from what the developers are saying online and stuff, it seems like this is accurate, that they're just done with monthly adventures in general, permanent or not permanent. So I would have rather them either do a podcast episode to announce this, or announce it on the Sea of Thieves news video that they just did. I mean, they announced so much stuff that they're talking about with, Season 12 coming up soon and all the PlayStation stuff. This should have been announced directly to players and not have us find out in like the very bottom paragraph of a random article online. So that's the other thing. I just don't really like the way that this was announced. I feel like it should have came from Rare themselves, not from Eurogamer or IGN or any other news outlet, to be honest. But with that said, what do y'all think about this change? Are you going to miss adventures, or are you happy that they're going away? I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts in the comments below, but if you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you like and subscribe. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Bye y'all.